in Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Crores of money was being transferred from foreign banks, and many of the IDs of Changur and his very close ally Neetu Nasreen and Naveen Rora. So ED is now has taken up the case after the remand has ended of the ATS, and now ED is going to do some big investigations in the cases. Today's crackdown, they have got many of the evidences from Utrala, the close people who have sell their properties to Neetu, what was the mode of the payment, and many other things.
All right, thank you for that. Moving on, well, Odisha has seen a statewide bandh called by the Congress, left and other opposition parties to protest the death of a 20-year-old female student who died after self-immolation over alleged inaction after sexual harassment by a professor. The areas impacted by the bandh were Jaleshwar, Basta, Soro, Baliapal, Bhograi and Bhubaneswar, of course. Well, we have seen videos of buses, cars, bikes being stopped and life being completely disrupted, while the case has caused a lot of anger in people as well. They have also demanded a proper investigation into the case and called for stronger measures to ensure the safety and justice for women in the state. Meanwhile, we have in the past 24 hours learned that the principal of this college in Balasore, Dilip Ghosh, ignored the internal committee report recommending removal of prime accused Professor Sameer Kumar Sahoo. The report had confirmed mental harassment caused by Sahoo while making no reference of sexual harassment, which is the charge levelled by the student who set herself on fire. The Odisha government has formed a fact-finding committee to ensure quick action in this case. We'll talk about this with our guests. In fact, joining us at this point in time to talk more about this on the show is Tahira Hassan. She's an activist. Also joining us on the broadcast is Sanjay Sahai, former IPS, Dr. Swati Jindal, advocate on record, Supreme Court, also with us on the program. Tahira ji, I'll begin with you. I hope you can hear me. Yeah. Tahira ji, you know, what really irks me at times or bothers me is, of course, what's happened over here, but it is also, you know, the rundown, dilapidated, usual response by administrative leaders and authorities of an SIT or a quick response or a resolution by roping in this and roping in that. What do you think needs to change here as well? Because this language, for more reasons than one, has become synonymous with inaction to me.
Yes, here, you know, this I have already said in your program earlier that accountability must be fixed. If the accountability will not be fixed, the people will get away after committing heinous crime. Here, you know, this girl ended her life by self-immolation, by prolonged sexual harassment by this teacher of the college. You know, and she filed the complaint, proper complaint she filed. She seek help from the principal of the college. You know, where do you expect her to go? She knocked the door of principal also. She seek the help from the principal, but all the complaint ignored. So this raises the question that kind of handling of this administration of crime against the women. This is a very serious question. How they handle, they are supposed to provide security to each and every student, but they are not taking up the complaint of the student of their college. So I think not only this thing that the principal has been arrested, must be a few more people must be involved into it. They all should be booked and should be punished properly, because one precedent should be set. Otherwise, our girls will not go out. Parents will not send them to go for the higher education, and we just don't want it. It's very difficult to encourage the parent to send their girl for the higher education, for the education even. So what is happening is this, I think the patriarchy is also playing its role, that people are saying, oh, you will go to colleges and like that and study in the code, then what happens? This will happen. You know, so I think the punishment is stringent punishment, accountability must be fixed, and it should, and this whole case should be transferred, I personally believe, to CBI, because there, the police will not be able to work properly. The way it has been handled, I find it. So it's better to transfer to CBI, or judiciary inquiry investigation must be taken place into it. And the other thing is this, that I don't want to politicize it. I don't see as the Congress versus BJP, or BJP versus or BJD versus against, opposition parties. It is simply a crime. When we start politicizing these type of crimes against women, we dilute it. It should not be diluted. It's a high time. It should not be diluted. Don't take it. Don't politicize it. Nobody should be allowed to politicize it. Take it as a crime, and after Nirbhaya, we have very strong laws in our hands. They must be implemented properly. And the police sensitization is very important. Police must pick up all the evidences. And it's very sad this young promises bride girl ended her life, because system failed her. She lost all the trust in system. And this brave girl, I'm saying, because she had filed the complaint in proper way. Then too, the principal did not take any action. Who stopped this principal not to take action? And I think internal complaint committee was also not very fair. And why they were not vocal, this is also question. These are the genuine questions which must be answered.
Mr. Sahai, where do you stand on this? Obviously, I completely agree with Tahira ji that this is not something that needs to be politicized. Nobody also wants to get into a blame game with the agencies or authorities or the police. But the fact of the matter is that there are anomalies when it comes to how this internal, investigation or the lack thereof led to this young girl's death, her brutal death.
Nobody is talking about the politicization of this particular heinous crime. Nonetheless, politicization is the only thing which happens in this country. Now, coming back to as to what is happening there, let's be very clear about the fact, and let's take it frontally that our systems are completely broken. So if you are thinking of that this is one odd crime, it is one odd crime which has accentuated to a level that we cannot digest. Otherwise, on a day-to-day basis, things of this nature are happening, and I'm forced to believe that, and there is absolutely no other way out. The role of the principal, not the role of the principal, I'll not get into that. It is primarily a complete mafia which has been operating in this country, and that is borne out by all the facts which we see. Now, I think the father of the girl, he talks about that the principal was forcing her to apologize to the harasser or face consequences shortly before the tragedy occurred. This is what the principal was doing. And the internal complaints committee, somewhere it is reported in the public domain that they wanted the removal of this particular professor. Now, what happened to that? Nobody has any idea. And only after meeting the principal, she goes and tries to self-immolate. So beginning till the end, we have any number of social media posts, and Tahira madam will bail me out, on which cases happen and on which variety of things happen, and people are behind the bar. This girl has been begging for action, and that nothing has happened. She went to the MP, there also nothing has happened. And the worst part is that end to end, there's absolutely nobody who has stood by her side. My personal understanding is this is the rotten state of affairs. And what if we pick it up only when crime of this nature happens? I don't think we are doing justice to improving the college management setup in the academic institutions. It has been happening all around the place, and with I think there will be brilliant investigation. These people go behind the bars, whatever the maximum punishment they give. But that is not going to improve. Big improvement will happen when we are able to enforce systemic changes. You don't have a counselor there. There is nobody to listen to her. And this fellow is making, the predator has been making overtures in a manner which is just unimaginable. So this fellow says he will bring down the marks. I think she was not allowed to take the exam also. So this is where we stand, whether it is, we are talking about a heinous crime or it is a completely degraded system, a completely indifferent system, which is primarily operating on politics, on mismanagement, drawing favors, giving favors, and of literally any time and every time. I'm completely appalled And every single time the same thing is happening. And it is not only the principal who is involved. This guy anyway, the second man is involved. Internal complaints committee, we don't know. And when this is happening day in and day out of the college, the faculty, nobody stands up. So I don't know. If we take it just as a crime and keep dealing it with from Arjekar to Fakir and to whatever, I don't think this is going to make any dent. And however strong your laws might be, the strength of the law primarily depends on the enforcement of the law. And after enforcement of the law, the failure of enforcement or a aberration or one case coming out of it as an exception, then the capability to invest in a manner as desired and take it to the logical conclusion, that is what is required. And then the opposition also. So they have a standard playbook. So you have to do dharna, you have to do protest, you have to do whatever you do. End of the day, they have finished their playbook and they will go home and they will say as a opposition, what we were supposed to do, we have done. So nobody actually cares, the whole political apparatus, and I will go to the extent of the bureaucratic apparatus also. Nobody is actually bothered. In improving this, it is an uphill task to make our campuses both empathetic, really gender agnostic, so to say, and management which is objective, which can work proactively and is working in real time. It is dynamic and real time because it was not working in real time that this tragedy has happened.
Okay. Dr. Swati Jindal. Well, these systemic changes are taking too many lives. These systemic changes are taking too much time, too much inertia. The wheels of the law are heavy and slow, and that's why a deterrent has not been created. Tahira ji brought in the Nirbhaya angle as well, which in recent memory for everyone on this panel is perhaps the most brutal case of harassment, murder and rape. That also does not deter people from doing what they have to do. What do you think is the solution over here? And this is not the last panel discussion we are likely to have when it comes to such episodes and such harassment. There is no fear of law. There is no fear of accountability. And that is why this environment has been created.
See, if you look at the legal ramifications of what has happened, primarily considering that there were issues of sexual harassment that the victim had reported right before her death, we have an IC report purportedly that has agreed to the fact that sexual harassment was indeed done and that has recommended the removal of the accused from his posting. Now, the question remains that as per the POSH Act, which is the relevant act in cases of sexual harassment at workplace, when the IC had given its recommendation that the accused be removed, why was he not removed? Whenever the IC comes moved by the employer, who in this case was the principal being the head of the school. Now, was there any action by him at all? Or was he just sitting silent on the recommendations that were given by the IC committee? That is the question that comes into play. Because ultimately, whatever the accused has done. But whoever was responsible for the safety of all the children, all the students in that particular college, all the workers for that matter, all the women, if that head of the school remains, or the head of the institution, if he remains silent and he becomes a mere, person who sits on the sidewalk and observes whatever is happening in his institution, then that is the ultimate culprit, I would say. Apart from that, as far as the police authorities are concerned, they have arrested the accused. Then 2 days later, they also ended up arresting the principal. Like the learned speakers, both of them who spoke before me, like they said that, this is will end up being just another case that is reported in the media. There is a huge hue and cry. People raise their arms in protest. There is a bandh, and the media uproar is there. After a few days, everything dies down. The only change that happens is in the life of the near and dear ones of the victim, or perhaps to some uncomfortable years for the accused persons also, as they try to wriggle their way out of the legal system that we have in this country. all said and done, the point remains that what can be done today to ensure that, even though the laws are being implemented, legislated left, right, and center, we have the new BNS, we have the new BNSS, a latest update on the Indian Evidence Act, so on and so forth. Until and unless, like Mr. Sahai before me said, that until and unless these laws are implemented properly, no matter how many laws you create on paper, they make no difference whatsoever. So today, what we need to ensure, what is the need of the hour, is that there is a proper implementation of these acts. Even though the victim, like we all know, was very well informed, she had tried all the, she had knocked all the doors that she could find. She has filed an IC complaint. She has even tried to file an FIR, maybe perhaps. She tried everything, but at the end, she was let down by the institute that should have been a safe space for her. She went to the principal, the head of the institute, who's answerable and accountable to everybody's safety. She got no redressal from there, which is, I think, quite sad, because now, maybe as an act of defiance to the system, maybe as an act of hopelessness, anger. We don't know what she felt during those last moments when she set herself on fire. The point remains that this is the failure of the system as a whole. And that is what needs to be redressed today.
Taira ji, Swati is absolutely right. The system is up for an overhaul. But the fact of the matter is that in the last few months, or rather years, ma'am, colleges, if you look at the cases that have stemmed out of West Bengal as well, have become this hotbed of criminal intent. That is a big worry. It is not supposed to be headed in that direction. If colleges and schools are going to become, such safe havens for criminal minds, then definitely our future is in up for trouble.
Yes, very true. I believe that I said accountability must be fixed on the principal. I said because he is the head of the institution. It was his responsibility to protect the girl. Same in RJK Medical College also. In the schools, colleges, university, the head is supposed to provide the environment where especially the female student feel safe. Safety and security and dignity should be ensured by the institution. So here the principal failed. He was the party. Why he did not take action? Here we can't say like that it's not a principal's fault. System failed, no doubt. System failed, and system failed her. She lost the trust in system of institution. Because she seek the help from the principal. She filed proper complaint. Why the principal did not take the action? Otherwise, she would have been alive with us. So these are the questions that arises. And Justice Verma committee, when it was constituted, Justice Verma had stated very strongly that we have strong laws. Whatever laws we have, they must be implemented properly. If they will not be implemented properly, only on the paper, it will not going to make any difference. And the conviction rate must be improved. Conviction rate is right now against the women, crimes against the women is very, very, very low, I will say. This will not serve as a deterrent. This culprit will never, this accused will never feel, they feel fear of, there is no fear of law. They know they will get away after committing heinous crime. And next time they will commit more bigger crime heinous crime against the women. So I think that whatever laws we have, they must be implemented properly on the ground. So only conviction rate will be increased. I again state and give the example of Chabra rape case. That was also heinous rape case. Whereas brutally the bottles, the glass bottles were inserted in the vagina of the victim. But what happened? All the culprit got free because the investigation was not done properly, evidences were not produced in the court. An honorable court will give the judgment on the evidences that will be collected and produced in the court. So system failed, completely failed. And here in institution, responsibility is not taken properly by the principal. Here the principal is a culprit, I will say. Very strongly, I will say, he is a culprit. He ignored all the complaint by this young girl who was the student of the college, and he was just trying to save this accused. It's very, very shameful.
Mrs. Sahai, do you concur with Tahiraji that the principal is solely to blame over here? So it's not only about accountability here, it's also about professional conduct in educational institutes.
Accountability is a very lofty sort of an ideal which we are talking about. Actually, on the ground, is not that he ignored or he was indifferent. I am repeating again and again that is the college campus or the college mafia which is operating, and that is how colleges are run, mostly the second grade and third grade colleges. So not only that he did not listen to or did not take any action, he was proactively operating on behalf of that particular HOD. So let's have it very, very crystal clear. And all what was happening in the college was very well known to him. He wanted this girl to apologize and variety of other things. She was not she was not permitted to take the exam. I think she was waiting outside the examination hall. He also knew that she has made an attempt to commit suicide earlier. So it's not indifference that he is sitting there and he is not aware of the fact. He is a proactive player in creating this inequitable sort of a system which favors, you can call patriarchy, you can call whatever frame of mind or a criminal frame of mind, whatever you can call it. So that's point number one. Point number two, Tahiraji has been talking about as to what is happening in the court of law and beyond. See, there are two sectors which you are touching primarily. So one is the law being codified. And the second is that once the incident happens, then how it is tackled by the police and then in the court of law. I think the major component is missing, and that is why we are falling into this trap over and over again. And the major component is that as per the legislation, whether the structures, the frameworks, the attitude, the resources, whether that has been created or not. And that has not been created in any of these colleges. So laws are basically hanging in midair. And somehow the compliances need to happen. If ICC did whatever they did in this particular case, if you go and do a auditing of what ICC have done across Odisha or might be across India, you'll be appalled to see that literally nothing has happened. So I think the biggest missing link is the non-creation of an apparatus which will actually enable the law, enforce the law, work in a proactive, dynamic, real-time manner to check it wherever it happens. And the regulatory people, which is the education department, they are sleeping peacefully. When something happens, then they will institute something as if the state government has nothing to do with any of these crimes. There has to be a monitoring mechanism. Today, the technology is available by which we can monitor every single complaint. And if they have decided not to, then it is left to them.
All right, fair enough. We've run out of time. Appreciate everybody who joined us and weighed in on this very concerning episode and this very unfortunate death. We take a short break now. Be right back.
Under the visionary leadership of Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath,